I'm here with Jerome O'Connell, Limerick man, dyed the wool. We talked after the All-Ireland final when Limerick beat Waterford last December here, and the words that I remember coming out was dynasty. By God, it looks like Limerick are on that road.
Yeah, I think you asked at the time, like, could they go on and build one, or was there one coming? John Kiley and all the players, they never mention it. Even today, they're talking, they're saying it never played a part and it was a context to the game, but deep down, they wanted to win back-to-back. You just know it. Anyone that has played competitive sport at any level, you want to retain a title. It's a big thing. If it's a 100-meter sprint or an All-Ireland hurling title, you want to do it. And that deep down, when they went back training and they started out in their Zoom calls, the winning back-to-back was a huge thing. 3 titles in 4 years, a huge thing. And, they've just achieved it in absolute spades.
And you were reared on Limerick getting better around the place most years. I mean, can you believe what's going on?
Look, I won't give away my age, but I was born in the late 70s and I had to wait. I didn't come up as a 4 and a 5-year-old, so I wasn't here in the early 80s. I had to wait until, the 90s to be here cheering, what we thought was a successful Limerick team, and getting to Croke Park was deemed a success back then. We won't talk about those 2 All-Irelands. And you got a big long break. Then again, I have a nephew who's here today, and there's young kids in Limerick. They don't know any different, but to be in Croke Park and to see Limerick winning in Croke Park, it's surreal in a way when you think of it, And to me, it's still such an occasion to come to Croke Park. It's second nature to kids of that age in Limerick, and that's hard for the rest of us to understand. But they just expect it at this stage.
What do you think? How do Limerick end up winning an All-Ireland final by 16 points today? What on earth has culminated in that happening?
There's a hunger, and I spoke about it during the week. I think, a bit like some of the Kilkenny players now, we're going to have to wait perhaps 10 years until some of these guys are in punditry, until they start writing books, until we get the real fine detail of how you can take a group of players, and there's 22 of them today that have won their 3rd All-Ireland medal. How we can see the level of hunger and desire that they show on the training field and out in the game on a continuous basis. It's 3 All-Irelands, it's 3 Munster titles, it's 2 Alliance Leagues. I think there might be 2 Munster Leagues thrown in there as well. It's a 4-year period of dreams. But when you see the hunger and the level of desire that they show to win absolutely every ball, right until injury time, I saw David Reedy throwing himself into a challenge down here. It's just a desire to win next ball. And it appears, and it sounds like from the stories, that it's the exact same way in training. It's next ball. It's not the next training session, the next match. It is next possession. Win the next possession and then use it as best you can. And it's an incredible level of hunger. We've seen it the second half in the Munster final here against Waterford, and here again today. But maybe a pet peeve of mine would be, Limerick are a big, strong, powerful team. I think they're more than that. They're a team of huge hurlers that have brought the craft of hurling to a new level. To my mind, I've been a bit frustrated the way they've been labelled this big, strong, powerful, physical team. Nothing to stop any county in Ireland being a big, strong, physical team, to my mind. But look at some of the scores that they've got in this year's championship. They've been incredible. Look at some of the stick work from the likes of Sean Quinn or Sean Finn, Nicky Quaid, Keane Lynch, Tom Morrissey, Declan Hannon. Go on and on, Kyle Hayes, Burns. The level of stick work that they have, that's incredible, and I think Kieran Kingston was very gracious in his interview afterwards, saying like that, yeah, they're up there with the greats of the recent Kilkenny team that we've seen, and I do think that's where they are now, and I hope we've seen the last of big, powerful Limerick, and maybe get a little bit more acknowledgement for the pure hurling that they show.
Am I in that bracket of people who question them?
I wouldn't say that now when I'm this close to you, but I think it's a fair point when you look at them from 1 to 15. I think they're and how they've matured as hurlers. A lot of them were here as minors in 2013 and 2014. Fine, they've developed physically. we all have over 8 or 9 years. Some of us
For good or bad.
for a different physique than them. But I mean, look at how their hurling has come on. You know, Seamus Flanagan, for different reasons, didn't quite make it at minor level. You know, look at him now. I mean, he's you know, the arrowhead of that attack up there. I just think some of the scores and how they're worked the ball from defence to attack under pressure and always taking the right options. You know, that's a lot more than a big powerful team. It's a team that's clearly coached superbly, absolutely incredible self-belief, and no little hurling skills.
Do you, like, coming into it, did you have any kind of nerves that maybe, you know, the whole talk that Cork suit playing Limerick, that, you know, styles make fights and all that? Had you any concern about this, or what was the mood in Limerick? Yeah,
there was. I mean, Cork had clearly built a lot of confidence, built a lot of momentum. But like people had asked who had improved more over the championship since they met 7 weeks ago. You know, I felt Limerick were really under par in that Munster Championship game. You know, even down the home stretch, they got 2 goals in half-time before half-time to put a bit of breathing space between them. But down the home stretch, Cork could have got a goal and for me, you know, snuck a victory in that Munster Championship game. But I thought Cork were as good that day as they were today. I know they've got victories along the way, but maybe we look back now and look at maybe some of their opposition in those games. But I think Limerick have come on leaps and bounds, and that's the way they'd set out their training session to peak today, and that's exactly what they've done.
Is there, like, that first half against Tipperary was obviously, you know, the worst hurling we've probably seen Limerick play in years, but the second half, do you think the second half or the third quarter even against Tipperary was more or less impressive than the 70 minutes today? Because it was just like a third quarter for 70 minutes.
Yeah, it was. And that's obviously what they went back in training. And, you know, if you can do this for 30, 35 minutes, why can't we do this for 70? And look, I still think, you know, it was more Limerick weren't switched on in that first half than anything tactically superb that Tipperary had done. There was a number of things that Tip did that worked a treat for them. And, you know, if anything, Limerick learned from that, and it was a great education for Limerick to look back and see where they were dragged maybe out of position and different things, and the role of Jason Ford and whatever. But Limerick weren't switched on. And it was, you know, maybe just the ammunition that Limerick needed and the rest of the country didn't want, because we've seen the backlash since the 35 minutes that followed the semi-final against Waterford, and here again today. The Tipperary, what's the saying, poke the bears or whatever, and you know, they awoke the beast, because Limerick have just been absolutely relentless since the return from that halftime dressing room.
I can't see this stopping. I can't see this Limerick run stopping at all. Like, I mean, maybe in a couple of years' time, when, I don't know, maybe Declan Hannon, if he ever goes past, well, they obviously will at some stage, if he goes past his peak, or maybe, I mean, the rest of the lads are pretty young. Grode Hegarty's maybe 27, so it's a long time before these guys are going to be going over the hill, let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's a long time, and I mean, look, the reality is in Limerick, we're not used to this. You know, we've already spoken about the barren years. It's hard to know how long that hunger can continue, but it certainly hasn't shown any sign of slowing down. The age limit, you know, the age bracket is certainly in Limerick's favour. There's no one on the starting 15 that you would think, you know, are ready to call it a day. Do know there's a lot more babies appearing in the aftermatch pictures, all right, so you know that tells its own stories. But you know, the nucleus of that team are kind of 2013, 2014 minors, sprinkled with the likes of Nicky Quaid, Declan Hannon, and, you know, Graham McCahey, who came on as a sub. Everyone else is of the same era, the same vintage. You know, maybe down the line that'll be something that might come back to haunt us, that there's such a crop, all of the same age limit. But I mean, when you're winning like this, it's a lot easier to mix in a couple of young fellas along the way. And I mean, if you're not hurling in Limerick right now, all you want to be is part of that county setup.
I'd say that red card situation really seemed to get to Peter Casey, the way he played that first half.
He went off injured at 35th minute. I think he went down injured after about 25, and he had 5 points on the board already. You know, and a couple of lovely passages as well where he had set up others. He's had a super year for Limerick. You know, not quite sure if he's nailed down an all-star with a 20 minutes of hurling in an All-Ireland final, but he must be close. And if anything, the focus on the Limerick half-forward line this year, I've always felt has created a little bit more space inside, which suits Peter absolutely down to the ground. I mean, the pinpoint accuracies coming were just non-stop. I mean, absolutely impossible to be a cornerback when the ball is raining down you, not even raining down on top of you, because it's coming pinpoint in front of the guys. And the likes of Peter, Amos and Aaron inside, their movement is just great to watch from up high here in Hogan Stand.
It's interesting that if you go through all the key men for Cork, Mark Coleman didn't really feature massively. Darragh Fitzgibbon marked out of the game. Robbie O'Flynn did a couple of okay things. Jack O'Connor. How much of this is down to the learned experience on the field for these Limerick players? Because look, there's leaders all over the field, and obviously then the management too taking the cue from them. Because before John Kiley took over, and even his first season, he talked about himself 2017, and when I spoke to him about a year and a half ago, he referred to it as a crap year, to his first season in charge. How much of it is down to like an unbelievable management team, Kiley and Kinnerk? You can't just be one. I'm sure there's others involved as well, of course, but then the players as well, and then the whole lot meshes together, obviously, to make a winning team. But I mean, what a management team! That has to be up there. I mean, Brian Cody won a huge amount of Ireland's. Some years they were bulldozing, actually you're now bulldozing teams, but like that management team is really putting its mark, I would say, on hurling, because other teams are going to have to completely change how they're going to play. Like if Tipperary want to compete with Limerick, they can't play the old style of hurling. They're going to have to adapt to what you're doing, for example. But just that management team, and then the experience on the field as well, like is huge. I'd imagine Declan Hannon, like he's been there since 2012, 2011, something like that.
2011 made his debut, yeah.
So the experience of winning on the field, like Keane Lynch is there for God knows how many years as well. But that experience both on and off the field is massive.
Yeah, it's huge. And the management team, John Kiley was clever enough to surround himself with the best. And that's, in business or in sport and life, that's what you got to do. And that's what, he was very fortunate that an awful lot fell into place for him when he came on board. Obviously having Paul Kinnerk was a much sought after coach. Joe O'Connor was in there as strength and conditioning coach in the early years, and then Mikey Kiley, like who's most decorated in his field as well as strength and conditioning coach. And I mean, the praise they must get to bring Limerick to fever pitch level on the biggest day that matters. I mean, that's no small achievement to get guys at their best on that date. And I mean, I've no doubt that date was in the calendar from a long way back. They got Limerick, finally tuned for today. Paul Kinnerk, you got Alan Cunningham in the management team, who's a former intercounty coach of his own right. Won much then in Limerick with Na Piarsaigh. Angus O'Brien, I mean, has been around the block, Limerick and Clare. Donald O'Grady, I mean, he's learning his way. What a setup to be learning your way in. And it goes beyond that. Caroline Curd, the sports psychology, what a huge role she plays. And it's just across the board. They've ticked all the boxes. Liaison officers, kitmen, everyone is at the, ticking all the boxes. Simple as their media day. It was out of the way, 12 days ago. Get it out of the way, tick that box, move on. Just so efficient in everything they do. And that culminates and having the players out in the field, best prepared they are, and it's the most comfortable they can be. It's just a really finely tuned machine on and off the field at the moment.
It takes a fair bit to make all these players as selfless as they are. Like, I'd imagine Keane Lynch grew up on underage teams. I know he's a talented soccer player too, but probably the best player on the pitch constantly, and he's the guy who's setting up the goals or constantly. Now, he scores 6 points himself, but he's just constantly offloading the ball and trying to bring other lads into the game. And that's something that you see replicated across the field. I mean, there must be an unbelievable team mentality in there, and just there can't be too many egos if they're all willing to pass the ball as often as they are, to ensure that the right man gets his hands on the ball to finish off the move. Because you see so many other teams letting themselves down because someone's trying to glory hunt. It's amazing to have that many stars in a team, and that is the culture there. That's obviously the reason why.
Yeah, and John was at pains to use that word team in his post-match remarks. Keane Lynch in his remarks spoke about Limerick being a family. There's a huge togetherness there. Declan Hannon was asked in the Limerick media event about perhaps joining the same list as Christy Ring and winning 3 All-Ireland McCarthy Cup winning teams, and he was just like, no, I haven't thought about that. He said, if I remember rightly, it was like, if you do that, you take your eye off the ball and you don't give to the team, and that would not be acceptable. It's team. It's just a massive togetherness in it. And in any walk of life, you get everyone chasing the one dream and the one accomplishment. It's very hard to remove that kind of a regime.
I'd say Nicky Quaid, Sean Finn, Dan Morrissey and William O'Donoghue feel a small bit left out. Oh, Kyle Hayes as well. Basically 10 starters scoring from play and 3 subs as well. Again, another further reflection of the sort of team ethic there. Do you see, like, the one thing we talked about is that maybe in a few years' time, if you don't bring more players through, but like say Colin Coughlin got brought in, do you think the players are coming to sort of push those lads? That could be the only thing, like a little bit of staleness or lads not feeling like their jersey's under pressure. I mean, are lads coming, do you think?
Lads are coming, yeah. I mean, Colin Coughlin and Carl O'Neill will be the only 2 of the 35-man panel winning their first medals tonight. So that's 2 new guys onto it. And, you've got 6 or 7 guys that only came in last year as well that are still learning their trade away in the background. The likes of Jerome Boylan and Mark Quinlan, Brian O'Grady, Jason Gillan is there as third choice goalkeeper. All these guys are learning the whole time in the background. They've started a couple of league games. Bit by bit, they're just being nurtured along. And like Colin Coughlin plays, 2 games in this year's championship, and he's straight in as a teenager. We thought it might take him longer. It hasn't. So yes, there's guys coming through. There was no silverware underage this year, but when we look back on it, we actually were as close to Cork at minor and under 20 level as anyone else out there. But the biggest problem is breaking into the 15. You just don't know where you can manage to nudge yourself in there. And, there's the likes of David Reedy and Pat Ryan are coming on as subs there the whole time. Breaking into that 15 is next to impossible, really.
Who's the best player in the country right now, do you think?
Keane Lynch. I mean,
it's not up for debate.
It's not up for debate. I mean, if I could do 1% with Hurley, what he can do, it's just incredible. I mean, magician, is that the right or wrong word for what he can do with a ball? And it's just his continuing ability to do the right thing. He slips a pass and he makes it look ordinary, but he's taking the right choice every single time when he's creating space for people. He's putting them straight through on goal. He never sends anyone. Keane Lynch doesn't do hospital passes. He always makes the right choice, and it looks so simple up here in the stand. He's playing in front of 40,000 today, 82,000 another day, in a game that's moving at that pace, and he still does the right thing. And I mean, that's aside from chipping in with 6 points from play this afternoon, and creates a couple of goal scoring chances and points for others, and there's the hooking and blocking on top of that. It's not like he saunters around the field and he's there and up in the forwards to put the gloss on things. He's setting the tone with hooks and blocks as well. A guy to take a ball from the sky. He's got it all. I mean, there's loads of heroes around this field, but in terms of the hurler out there at the moment, for me, it's Keane Lynch.
Sean Finn, they're the best defenders, isn't he?
Yeah, it's just incredible. I actually saw him at one point picking the pocket of Dan Morrissey. Dan Morrissey thought he was about to clear a ball, and Sean was just in and gone. He nailed on to be 4 in a row all-star cornerback. I mean, he should probably come into the discussion for our hurler of the year as well. But he's just incredible. I'd love to speak to someone that has actually marked him, because he's just phenomenal. And it's ball. I mean, he's a ball-playing cornerback. I mean, you wonder today, could Jack O'Connor's pace, get at him? I suppose to be fair to Jack Connor, he didn't get the delivery in to come face to face and turn and face him. But I mean, Sean Finn just comes out with ball after ball. It's incredible.
The biggest compliment I can pay to these players individually is that they all seem to get better and more effective all the time. Again, that's probably back to the coaching. Yeah,
there's no one lagging, and I think Tom Morrissey just spoke about it in the post-match interviews as well, about trying to go back and see where you can improve next year. They're probably talking about it going down in the team train. I think they 14 or 15 wides. They all continue to improve. And I mean, look, there's key players that, the likes of Garrod and probably Kyle, who teams had more emphasis on this year because they were the star players. But what it does is it just opens up and creates space and the openings for others. And that's the problem with Limerick. You can close down 2 or 3 guys, but the others are going to step in then. Like it's 15 and what's coming off the bench. So you can't just nullify a number of players and think you're on the road. You're actually not. You're creating space and openings for others.
I'm just looking at what was scored from play, and I might have this slightly wrong, but I think it's 111 or maybe 112 that Cork scored from play. For Limerick, 328. I mean, that I think it's the highest score ever in an All-Ireland final. Really is an incredible scoring rate, especially from play.
Yeah, and such a spread of the scorers as well. I think poor Kyle Hazer tried his best
Four wide
to get a score from play, but at that stage you had Graham Mulcahy, David Reedy, Pat Ryan all coming off the bench, getting them as well. We all marvelled on Gerard Hegarty's man of the match display last year. Almost unknown, so was he notched 2-2 in the opening half. Opening half this time, Tom Morrissey, I felt Seamus Flanagan had scored more than a point.
Yeah,
but only ended with a point. But I mean, was up there winning so much of the ball and sending it back out the field for the likes of Tom Morrissey and Keane Lynch and others to chip over the bar. Yeah, an incredible. An incredible scoring spread, and I suppose again that comes back to what I was saying. You can't just nullify one or two players. Someone else will step up on the day, and as we talked about, Peter Casey played less than a half hour and had 5 points and play on the board.
There's definitely, when a team keeps winning and winning, and then people are going to start having it in for Limerick a little bit.
We don't know about that in Limerick now, to be fair.
Well, at the moment, you're so on top, and look, the way things worked out in 2019, maybe it could have been 4 in a row, but it isn't. But the point is that people will start turning on Limerick a little bit and look for reasons to give out about you. And what happened with John Small in Dublin, people were looking for reasons to line up Dublin and talk about them. But to be fair, with that incident, it was fully merited. I don't know if you've had a chance to see Keane Lynch flipping Tim O'Mahony over him. Now, to be fair, we've been kind of working flat to the mat since then. We haven't had a chance to watch the live TV coverage, but I'm not sure if you saw it, or do you think that people will sort of have it in for Limerick now and try and make a big thing out of this?
Could have sound like a manager now in a post-match interview. I haven't seen it back just yet. I saw it in real time, and they showed it, I think, once on the big screen as well. I didn't see enough of it to see exactly what it was. I've seen some stuff on social media as well about Graham Mulcahy.
Well, people are attacking me now because I mentioned the John Small thing and made a big thing of it last week, and I haven't talked about this yet, but I only saw a quick little clip. It didn't look great for sure. 2 lads at it, but he did flip him. I doubt he was trying to dump him on his head. Little different to lining a lad up. And anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because people will have it in for Limerick now.
Look, they will. And what a strange scenario that you probably had 31 counties shouting for Cork today. Yeah. I mean, that's an unknown for Cork.
Cork thought 31. Maybe half of them are sick of them already.
Maybe, yeah. But I mean, look, you're going to get that. And, a lot of Limerick players were asked across the last number of weeks. I can remember Sean Finn, Gerard Hegarty addressing it. Declan Hannon addressed it as well, about the fact that, you're champions, you have this target. Declan Hannon's reaction was quite simple. We've wanted this for long enough. You got to embrace it and use it and, not hide away from it. I mean, we could be sitting back in Limerick watching 2 other counties up here today. If you've got a target on your back as champions, it's going to happen, be it Man City or Limerick hurlers or whatever sport it is in the world. Champions are up there to be shot down, and maybe people will get a bit frustrated with others, enjoying success at a time. For us in Limerick, we've been sitting down, by the banks of the Shannon watching it for long enough. It is still a strange, feeling to be that team up there. But I mean, we got to embrace it. From a Limerick point of view, success by success, we'll enjoy it. I don't think the team look beyond, and I think the supporters are the same. It's going to be a great banter. You'll always get that. And I think most of it is lighthearted. But, social media, especially what it is, there are some who will who won't be happy. Not Limerick's problem.
It's pretty obvious that you're a passionate Limerick supporter as well as a journalist. So when you're writing your stuff, that's when you're nice and impartial. But in this sort of a setting, I think it's okay to show off the passion. When you're watching the game also, I find that I'm in here and sometimes there'd be 2 neutral teams. Dublin Mayo last week, I was standing screaming, roaring like a child up there. What was it like for you watching today when Limerick got on top in the first half? Were you like, okay, we're going to see it out from here? Or what was your excitement levels like?
It's horrible.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would absolutely love to be paying my €90 and sitting in the Davin stand or the Hill 16. There's part of me that, looks back the last number of years and just said, I'd love to have been a supporter to be enjoying this. And, I I'm privileged for the access I get to the players and the management and to be at all the games. And last year, no one else was here. But I mean, when you're a Limerick hurling man, Limerick hurling supporter, I'd love to be out there in the stands watching it and be able to, cheer them on as passionately as you would love to. As you said, when you come into this job, you pull down the shutters, I would wear the Limerick colours in the press box and whatever. So you got a job to do and you have to do it, and you're working to it. And on a day like this, you're working to a pretty tight deadline, and so you just got to do it. So you miss out on the emotion and the joy. I find that, but at the same time, the roll of honour doesn't have an asterisk next to it to say that Jerome O'Connell missed out, and that it just shows Limerick All Ireland hurling champions.
Well, I presume you still get immense pleasure watching. You're letting little roars out of you, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course you do. I if anyone had video footage of when Kyle Hayes scored the goal in the Munster final, I think that's certainly one of the moments that I can remember that there certainly was a bit of an old fist bump or maybe a bit of a jump on that occasion. And you do. You have to. I mean, you have to marvel at them. They're an incredible team in full flight. Be it from Limerick or anywhere else, I think people should maybe just sit back and enjoy it a little bit. I think they're incredible to watch. You got a pen in hand and you're taking notes the whole time. But I mean, some of their passages of play this year and last year, I think they've just been a joy to behold. And look, I get to enjoy it from close enough to a front row seat, so I best not complain.
Final thing then, is it crucial that John Kiley stays on? Now he's a principal in Abbey CVS in Tipperary. I'm sure it's not that far of a spin for him. So hopefully, from a Limerick point of view, he can continue doing it, because it's probably like a second full-time job. Is it crucial that he stays on?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely crucial. And I don't think it's even up for debate. I think they're such a seamless machine now. And the big thing from Limerick point of view is, look at the calendar. They're after winning 2 All-Irelands so close together. Is it 1924 since 2 All-Ireland titles were won in such a time frame? They've got a big gap now, big break. Like, this is the biggest break they're going to have, and hopefully the world is somewhat returning to normal, and the Zoom training sessions are the thing of the past. But they've got quite a long break now to refresh themselves. Clearly back to club action in 2 weeks in Limerick, but it does a big long break now that they're probably just going to absolutely love. And I'm sure by the time they return, whenever the training dates will be again, be it November or December, the ship will keep rolling again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jerome. Appreciate that, and enjoy the win. And then just a reminder to anyone out there, please do follow on YouTube. Just click down the bottom corner and turn on the notifications. And if you want to support on Patreon, go to patreon.com/OurGame.